listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, King Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is how we start. We start because we are The Walking Dead.
The
guys,
Talking Dead.
The Talking Dead. I think that's taken. All right, guys. I am excited though because another episode, Hounded, and guys, we are AfterBuzz TV, and being as for doing, we're doing the AfterBuzz show for Walking Dead. Sitting across from me, Christon Carroll sadly could not make it because she's at the Bears game in San Francisco. Whatever, Christon. Whatever. Walking Dead is more important. Sarah Mendoza.
Whoop, whoop. Clearly, we are twins.
Clearly, we look just alike. We also did America's Best Dance Crew together.
Yes, excited to be back on set with you.
Yes, fun times. And sitting next to me, Daryl, Christon.
What's up, everybody?
I'm especially excited because we've never sat next to each other before.
We have never sat next to each other.
There's some bromance over there.
There's a lot of bromance.
A lot of rubbing of elbows.
Exactly.
So, and guys, I am Dave Klein once again, and in the booth we have Steven.
What's up, guys? Oh, yeah.
Also a huge Walking Dead fan. And for those of you who are watching, not listening, you may have noticed next to Sarah, our special guest, Juan Gabriel Pareja.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
So, you may remember him from Season 1 as Morales.
Yes,
it's nice to have you on.
It's good to be on. It's good to be on.
It looks like you and your family must have made it out okay because you are here with us right now.
Yes,
so
we're
it's good
safe
to
and
know.
sound. We're safe and sound. We made it past Birmingham, and so we're still alive.
Apparently, you guys,
out there.
from Birmingham and then all the way to LA, you made a long trek.
Yeah.
But we're glad to see you here.
Yes. Glad to be here.
So thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to get started right away and talk about the prison because a lot of crazy things happening at the prison. So we get the start, which is Rick on the phone with the random woman. We don't know who it is yet, and it's the call from last episode. And apparently, he's not sure what's going on, and she's talking about being at some safe place to him. Mm-hmm. And it's been a place that's been safe ever since it started. And Rick asks, "What makes your place so safe?" And she tells him, "It's just away from them. Mm-hmm. It's just a place that's away from them." And this is also the first moment that we get where Rick addresses that he has a newborn baby in this whole season. He's never really addressed it before. He kind of just glanced at the baby and ran away.
Right.
So this is the first moment where he actually really addresses it. And the phone hangs up afterwards, and the girl says she'll call back in 2 hours. So what did you guys think about that introductory scene?
Well, I had my doubts at first, and I was really curious to see where that was coming from. And as the episode progressed, we definitely got a little bit more of that answers, but it definitely seemed really weird to be getting that phone call.
Well, what's so heartbreaking about it is we wanted this to be the moment where the person on the other line picks up and says, "We're going to come get you. Mm-hmm. We're here to save you." But he doesn't get that. That's what he's hoping for. That's what we're all hoping for. And she's just saying, like, "I can't tell you where I am. But we're safe." Well, thanks, lady. Like that,
exactly.
like that helps us over here as we're dying.
I just kept trying to figure out, like, if that voice sounded familiar, like, the entire time.
Right.
I was like, it had that tone to it, but I just couldn't figure out where it was. I didn't know if it was going to be someone new or if it was someone from the past. I mean, a lot of the speculation was that it was Carol that was going to be on the phone at first initially. So I was excited to actually see, who that was on the phone.
Although we got a lot of teases last episode, that was sort of a crazy thing because you hear Rick with the baby noises going off and before the phone rings, and it's just like a lot of kind of teases, and because he's so crazy in his head. And I want to get to this now before I forget, but when they're talking about what makes your place so safe, I'm wondering if the place, as we realize later, is it just death is the safe place. Is that what it is? Because it is far away from the walkers. You're not with them anymore. Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah.
That's a
the
good
safe
theory.
place.
But what I was thinking to that point is maybe it's somebody at the governor's camp. Because everybody there thinks it's this, you know, safe haven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what's going on, you know, in the governor's mind with all that other crazy weird stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
so
technically, it is still safe for them, even with this.
Technically
For
it
them,
is, yeah.
for them, it's
For them.
safe.
for them,
For the moment.
inside for the moment, right?
Yeah.
We don't know where he's gonna go later with that.
Right.
So after that scene, we get Rick coming back to the group, and he tells them that he's taking care of zombies. He doesn't mention the phone thing at all to them, and he's just checking on Carl, and he leaves and goes right back. And we also get Maggie and Glenn saying that they're gonna go head out for baby formula.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird that he said that he was, you know, kind of keeping that under wraps, and and then later when he was talking to Hershel that he didn't want anybody to know quite yet.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit odd and not really quite clear why he was keeping that under wraps.
Perhaps he didn't want to give them false hopes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
thinking.
Like jump the gun on it, because maybe they will never come, and then they're just going to be hoping for this thing that's never going to come yet again.
Yeah.
See, my thought was that he wasn't telling them because in his mind, they just found this prison. They think this is the safe place. He's been telling everybody this is the place to be. So after giving them all like this speech of this being the safe place, they took care of everything. He doesn't want to tell them right away, oh, guess what? We're leaving again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of took it as that sort of thing.
And
So are you saying like an ego thing where he didn't want to like admit like crap, you know, I didn't have it figured out
Well, not
here?
necessarily an ego thing, but like the whole false hope type of thing too, where it's just like, guys, we just made it, let's go again. Like they feel like they just found a place and they're trying to make it work, and he's like, up, let's leave, you know, and that's kind of heartbreaking, and I think he just doesn't want to put that on the group just yet.
Right.
And a typical leader is not going to share all of his information that he gets with his troops.
Just like the governor.
Just
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
governor. you
Maybe
know,
like
so.
the president, who knows? I
Exactly.
mean, I'm not going to go there.
Oh.
No, but it also, they just experience, you know, tragedies. T-Dog,
Right.
Yeah.
Lori's gone.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that we have to deal with.
And I think it's a similar sentiment that was made by Merle talking to Neil and saying, you know, if you're going to be scared and pissing your pants, don't
That's
be
true.
announcing it to the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
It's a similar
That's very
kind of-
true.
That's true,
You
yeah.
have to keep the face.
And he definitely is like out on his own this whole time while he's having his freak out. He just leaves the group immediately.
Losing his mind.
Yeah. So we get them then. He goes back to the phone, and now this time there's a guy on the phone. And the guy is describing this as the perfect place. And then he starts getting this conversation with Rick about how many people has Rick killed. And this is this whole thing of we were starting to question, well, was Rick talking to himself? Because why would the guy ask that? It's kind of a random thing. And he's just kind of like trying to almost explain and justify everything he's done. And it comes off as like he's trying to justify everything. And finally they talk about Lori's death. And then he brings up, well, what about Lori? And Rick just doesn't want to talk about it. And the phone hangs up.
Yeah, and then at first he was even startled by that because he asked the question about like how do you know about Lori
Right.
initially. So I think that took him back a little bit by them asking that specific question as well.
But I think it's like, again, the whole thing is the perfect place. I'm starting to get the sentiment that it is death is the perfect place, and that's what the illusion is there, and
No, I
that's what
think
they're
you're right.
alluding to.
I definitely think you're right in that sense.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, like that's what it feels like to me. So, after that scene, then Hershel comes in to talk to Rick, and we get finally Rick interacting with someone, and Hershel's kind of is being there for Rick. He's trying to be positive, trying to be that guy, because Rick had been the one before who was always there for people, as Hershel points
Right.
out. So Hershel's trying to tell him, like, be happy for him, like, comfort him because of Lori, comfort him and tell him that he's a good leader, tell him that, you know, he talked to Lori before Lori died in a comforting way. And all Rick is thinking about is this whole phone thing, and tells and admits to Hershel about the phone, and Hershel picks it up. It sounds like we get some static there.
Yeah, that
nothing.
was the first time. Up to that point, I really thought that the conversations were real and there was
Yeah.
really somebody else on the line.
Yeah.
But at that moment, when there wasn't a dial tone, when it was just static, was the first time I started kind of thinking maybe it's all in his head.
Yeah.
I liked Hershel's face.
There you go.
when
Sounded just like that.
That sounded just like that.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
Hershel's face when he picked up the phone. The way he looked at Rick,
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
all right,
Wait a
something's
second."
going on here. That's not quite right.
Unless the phone cuts in and out.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
I guess there's so many sound effects going on throughout the episode. I was sort of wondering, well, we were getting a lot of weird sound effects with Rick. Is this another weird sound effect thing just to play with your head? So I was kind of like iffy on that because I was like, is this a real sound effect or is it a crazy sound effect?
Yeah.
I don't know. But we do get Hershel wanting to stay with Rick at that point and sit with him and kind of be there for him, and Rick sends him off.
Yeah. So let's say it's not just the voices in his head. The person on the other line is gonna have to be someone that was with them once before. Maybe Morales over here or something. You know, who knows? Or maybe there's people on the outside that are like watching the happenings of the world right now.
That's
I don't know if
weird,
you guys read or saw the Hunger Games, but it's kind of like
That's
it's
true.
kind of like that.
That's
The world is like they watch it on the television.
Well, you know what we never found out is who that voyeur was from the second episode this season? We did never find that out.
Do you think maybe it was Michonne or?
I don't think it was Michonne, but because she was over in at Woodbury at that point.
Right, watching Carol, right?
And it could have been Andrew.
It could have been Andrew, yeah.
But did Andrew just get out of the prison? I mean, maybe it was Andrew, I think. But we never found out specifically it was
that
Andrew,
was.
so.
I'm drawing a blank here. Remind me who Andrew is.
He died.
Andrew's the one who set all the zombies into the prison.
Oh, okay. Got it.
and he was taken out by Oscar.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, they don't say his name very often, so yeah.
Dave, can I throw something in here?
Yeah.
There was a really interesting thing what Hershel said to Rick, and thinking back, like, look at the situation Rick's in. He just lost Lori, which is kind of like his limb, his podium for power, per se. And Hershel says something interesting. He says when he lost his leg, he can still kind of wiggle his toes and stuff. It seemed like a big kind of metaphor to the fact that Rick just lost something huge, and he can still feel her coming through the phone.
Yeah.
It's like he's feeling Lori still there through the phone as Hershel can feel his leg. Let's go.
Wow.
That's good.
Very good point. Very good point.
I think that's a good illusion that a good metaphor that I sort of missed there. So thanks for picking up on that. And all hail Cesar G from the live chat says that he feels like these phone calls are all in Rick's head. So he definitely agrees with kind of the consensus that it seems like it's all from Rick's head and coming from that point. So after that point, we get Daryl, Andrew, and Carl, and they're kind of clearing out the bottom floor of the prison and clearing things out. And we get Daryl having like a kind of good moment. And once again, we see that he is good with kids. He was good with the baby, and now he's talking to Carl, trying to comfort Carl about losing Lori. And he's explaining about his own experience losing his mother to a fire, where he didn't even realize at first that there was all this mayhem going on and everyone was going to check out. Turns out it was a fire at his house and his mother had died. And Carl then admits to Daryl that he had to shoot Lori himself. So there we go, Derrial. There's your moment. Sorry, it looks like Lori is definitely dead.
Yeah. Well,
were you thinking that she might be still alive?
I was just in hope, and I knew that she technically was dead, but it just I had that little glimmer of hope just because we had not seen her officially die.
Right.
Unless,
And the body wasn't there when he went to Lush.
The body technically wasn't there,
and you never see her actually get shot in the head, which is kind of weird for such a major character that you want to see that.
There's a slim chance that Carl did not aim correctly, and she might have survived anyways.
Well,
or that Carl's lying here to
He seems to have become
Daryl.
a pretty good shot this season, though. He seems to become a pretty good shot.
But Greg Nicotero, he actually had an article this week, and he mentioned that it's official. Lori, all my hopes are gone. He said if you really look at the zombie that was laying on the ground, that
like there's her hair coming out of his
particles
mouth.
are coming out of his mouth, and also
that's disgusting.
Yeah,
by the way.
Well, I mean, it was like a pretty fat zombie there.
And he said
the
that
zombie was now pregnant, so first it was Lori.
And he said that the image of her, the blood that's on the ground, is actually she's getting dragged away by other zombies as well. That's why there's no remains. So that's because some people, I guess, have said, well, where are her bones and where are these other things? So
yeah.
I was watching an interview that what's her name, Sarah, did about her character Lori in that scene, and she said as they were filming it, she could tell that all the crew members were just disgusted by what was going on. That she took her camera phone, she started snapping everybody's reactions, and everybody was just like, ugh, like what's going on here?
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I guess that was a pretty gruesome scene.
I think that was my reaction while I was watching. So.
Yeah, that was very not an uncommon reaction at all while we were shooting originally. It's just everybody. Some real revulsion on everybody's face shooting. Just, I mean, because the effects are just outrageously amazing.
Are a lot of them that good while you guys are shooting it?
Yes. I remember early on in the first season when we shot Guts, and we were all standing around that first zombie. I mean, literally kind of gagging as,
Yeah.
as they were. You could hear the slimy, sticky, tacky nature of it all, and it actually made you gag a little bit.
So it wasn't so hard for
real.
Glenn to act throwing up at that scene.
No, not at all. I had to keep from doing it myself a couple of times.
Did you get to watch that makeup process before you guys would shoot?
Some of it. I mean, a lot of it was prepped beforehand, but a lot of the stuff was also just kind of added onto and kind of doctored up and made even nastier and grosser.
Yeah.
So we didn't see them actually prep everything beforehand, but there was definitely some additional kind of like final touches that were done right there right before we shot the scene.
Yeah,
And
nice.
what did it smell like? Sorry, I just want to know. Was it weird?
It's hard to say. It didn't smell amazing. It wasn't intrinsically gross smelling, but the longer you were sitting there dealing with it, the more disgusting it became.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
at first I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, but the more we shot the scene, it just got sicker and sicker and sicker, and it started to take on a really gross smell.
Watchtower Base says, "Oh, come on, Juan, just ate here."
And everybody's logging off of our show.
All right, so let's move on then to the next call that Rick gets, which is another woman calling Rick saying, "You should talk about it, Rick," kind of about his wife dying. And this is the first moment where he's starting to realize what's going on. And he says, "How do you know my name?" And the phone just hangs up. So really brief interaction there of him sort of going insane and almost a self-realization from him that he's going crazy there.
Yeah.
And right afterwards, we get back with Daryl, Andrew, and Carl, and they find some slippers, which Daryl,
Oscar.
I think I called him Andrew before by accident. It's just because I was so upset about everything Andrew did. So Oscar kind of explains, and Oscar's kind of a comic relief here. He's explaining
It's
that.
a really funny little moment there.
Yeah, the slippers are for relaxing.
yeah.
Oscar's been funny every episode so
Yeah,
far.
because
I
he's
like
like
his
this
lines.
big buff prison guy,
Yeah.
and he just says the cutest little funny things.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but he and Axel's relationship together is really
kinda
comedic.
sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Spot
It's
on.
funny.
Where was he today? He wasn't in today's episode, huh?
He was
No,
not.
you're right, no.
You're right.
No, he wasn't. So, yeah, I wonder what he was doing, but who knows?
Oh, they mentioned it briefly that he was working in the generator room in case there was an emergency.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
he was hard at work elsewhere.
Juan with the facts.
See, that's what
Juan with the
happens when
facts.
you're not.
Inside info here. Don't leave me hanging.
That's what happens when you're not taking pages of notes. You can catch those things.
Exactly.
So, right afterwards, we get a zombie comes to attack them, and they kill it. And there's some mysterious knife in the zombie's head, which, as Daryl pulls it out, turns out it's Carol's knife. So they we haven't seen Carol for I think a whole episode now. So we're kind of getting this "where is she" moment where everyone who's been watching has been wondering where she's been. So it's nice to get that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just
And
hoping she wasn't dead.
Yeah.
I thought she was dead, actually.
I didn't for some
I
reason.
didn't.
I thought that when T-Dog went down defending her, that it wouldn't be in vain. That it
Right.
definitely
Yeah.
was, she was going to be alive, and that he had definitely saved her in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool how, I really was not a huge fan of Daryl's character in the first season because he was just kind of such a jerk. But it's
Yeah.
really cool how every episode you're seeing more and more tender sides of him and how he's just
Right.
kind of, you're seeing more and more of that humanity, even more so, I think, than some of the other characters. Which is
Yeah,
kind
I
of-
think so too. I think he's definitely grown to become such a likable. I mean, I liked him because he's always been that likable asshole type of character, but he's grown to that point where he does have a sweet side, as you
Yeah.
were saying.
And Dave did dress up like him as Halloween, so.
Yeah, I did. For a Halloween Walking Dead episode.
Well, then he was just still an asshole. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's not a joke.
burn.
No, Dave is like the sweetest guy ever. That's totally a joke.
Stop blowing my cover here. I'm trying to.
Sarah.
Don't blow my cover, all
But
right?
it's probably because Merle is out of the picture for him.
Yeah.
And he was such a bad influence, obviously,
Yeah.
from tonight's
Yeah.
episode.
That's true.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see them reunite with each other and see where that goes as well. See how their interaction is with each other.
Do you think there's any chance that Merle might? Merle's a little softer. I mean, he's still a little creeper, but he's a little softer this season, I think. Than when we
Merle?
last saw him.
Well,
Not tonight, though.
No,
but I mean, he's not like as harsh with his words.
Right.
Before he was just kind of a wire just going off because he would drop the N-bomb on people. He was rude to you about being Hispanic. So it was just
Yeah.
like everything. He just didn't care. So now I think he's a little smarter, if anything. He knows how to play his words a little bit better. He's still a total asshole, but he's
Yeah.
just
Right.
smarter about it.
No, agreed.
Why do we think that is? Do we think the governor, I don't know. I think there's like a brainwashing thing going on with that.
I think maybe it's that, and then also just living with other people is more
I think
relaxed.
learning to survive and adapting to your circumstances, and realizing that you're not going to be able to survive too much longer if you keep up playing those same cards. You have to
and
adapt
making
your
everyone your
behavior a little
enemy.
bit.
That's true.
Right. I mean, clearly it didn't work for him the first time. So yeah, he had to adapt to that.
But then he
he's
would
a
have
fast
two
learner.
cool knife hand things, maybe.
But we'll see. I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later. But we'll see that he still is up to some of his old tricks and ways.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's get on to Rick then with the big moment where he picks up the phone and there's a girl on the phone and he asks, "How do you know my name?" And she explains Amy, Jim, and Jackie were on the phone, the people who had died from the first season from that group. And we kind of realize that Rick is talking to Lori on the phone at this moment. And Rick starts breaking down and explaining that he'd made a deal with himself. He would keep Lori, Carl, and the baby alive. And he thought after that, and rebuild from there. And he thought at that point there'd be time. And his main regret was not telling Lori that he loved her. And Lori asked Rick to do something. And we don't get to hear what it was because of all the static going on. Right. And I don't know if Rick heard it or if there's just... Do you think that it was the case of like the CDC case when where Rick got something whispered to him, but we don't find out until season 2?
Oh, I noticed that we didn't hear it, but I just kind of assumed that she was like, pull it together. Can you do that? Can you pull it together?
But do you think Rick heard it, or because we didn't get to hear it as an audience?
I don't know, because it was like white noise in the background.
I think it's maybe symbolic of, he is letting it out to who he thinks is Lori on the line. Yeah. And he wants an answer from her, maybe, as to what to do now. Yeah. But he doesn't have that answer. So maybe that's why when it comes to that part of the conversation in his head, he's not hearing it. He just gets the static.
Because you do see, even though he makes his own decisions, every time before he does it, every time, seasons 1 through 3, he will talk to Lori and say, "Do you think what I'm doing is right?" Every single time. So this, as you were saying, could be that case. But I'm also wondering, I do wonder if there's something in that static that we didn't hear, or if it's something that he's going to play out in his head. Because we get all these references before to death, as I was kind of pointing out, being maybe what they're talking about as being the one safe place. And if this is going to account for Rick just going completely AWOL crazy and thinking that like maybe that's the safe place to be is death, and with him holding his baby, I mean, I don't know. Or if Lori's maybe the one finally pulling him together at this point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I really, I got the sense that he lost it, and that what she was saying to him that we didn't hear was, "Can you pull it together? Can you do it for our kid? Can you do it for Carl? Can you do it for our new baby girl?"
Yeah.
And I got the sense that in that moment, I could be wrong, but I got a distinct sense that he came back. He came back to reality. He came, back from his psychosis, his little break. And that he's back.
You know what? I do agree with you. Sorry, I do agree with you, and I was just kind of throwing it out there as maybe a point of contention. But I do think that it was that whole Lori is still being that strong thing for him that keeps them together. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, and I think they also need to show this scene because we have to see that transition of Rick becoming the darker person. So we have to see all of that background in order for him to become that next person that he's gonna be.
I do want to point out that Lori did say "our baby," even though it is in Rick's head. Yeah. But I think that's an important detail that she referred to it as "our baby." Yeah. Because we really don't know if it's changed, but she is referring to it as "our baby" in that scene.
And okay. No, I was just gonna say that your theory, everyone's agreeing, it does make sense because if she said it that way, it makes sense that he would go outside and take care of the baby rather than see something evil in his eyes as he's just staring at the baby, from the other side of the room.
Yeah. One final little note to add on that I kind of just seals it all is that he looks at the baby and then looks at Carl and says, "She looks like you." So that's another further reinforcement that I think he's come to terms with the fact that it is his child. Yeah.
And let's go ahead to that scene then, and because that's a perfect transition point where Rick has kind of come back. He finally picks up the baby for the first time, and he goes out with Carl, and as you say, tells Carl that the baby sister looks like him, and we get him outside, and he sees the fence rattling and sees Michonne there. So I guess we'll get on that later, the whole Michonne being there thing, and let's jump over to Daryl with Carol's knife in his hand, contemplating if he really wants to go into that room where he thinks Carol's probably dead. Busts into the room. Carol's okay.
Carries her through the threshold, picks her up. I think for some reason I thought that there was a really sweet relationship there, but I think it's really even magnified even more that he was struggling so much and that he didn't want to open that door. And I think it showed even more of the cards that he has some deeper feelings for her, other than just kind of watching out for her and making sure that she's okay, that there actually may be some romance that's been hinted at several times.
Hey, and we gave them a nickname. They're our new Brad and Angelina, right? What was it?
Brangelina, DeCarroll.
DeCarroll. That's the name for Daryl. DeCarroll. We love it.
So we got that romance of DeCarroll.
It rhymes.
Yeah. All right, guys, before we go on to the Michonne plotline, I do want to mention that we have tons of awesome AfterBuzz shows that you can watch. And if you're watching our show, Walking Dead, we would love your feedback in any way possible, whether that be going to the iTunes or YouTube. Please comment and rate us, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. We love your feedback, and we just want to hear how we can make this show better for you guys. Or you can go to the live chat. We've got people on right now chatting with us, talking to Juan over there, and definitely come in and chat with us 9 p.m. Pacific time, 12 a.m. Eastern time. You can chat with us and sign on. So with that said, let's go on to Michonne. I don't know what that music is. Is that someone getting
eaten in the background?
Oh, no, that's when Rick finds out that Lori died.
Oh,
right.
Blast that sound a bit louder, because, yeah. So let's get, we've got Michonne now. We've got Merle, and this is the start of the episode. Merle is searching for Michonne, and we get that, I don't know if you'd call it badass, maybe a little cheesy, with the G and the O spelling, and a back, spelling out go back. I mean, I think it was a little funny with the back.
It was kind of funny.
But I don't know. I think I would have preferred to see it spelled out, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was badass that she did that, but I would have preferred to see it spelled out.
She's just kind of like demented, though, sort of. Like, who would think to do that?
She's an artist.
Like,
She's an artiste.
She's an artiste.
Instead of saying, let's gather some leaves and form it into the words, let's use this torso.
Yeah.
And
no, I thought it was clever. I didn't get it at first, and then until the guy actually said, was it Neil that said it? The other guy.
It was Neil / Gargiulio who says it.
Yeah.
Gargiulio.
But I definitely got a good tickle out of that, and I was like,
oh. I was like, man, she can fight. She uses her sword, and she's an artist. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
She's just badass all around.
I would have never thought of that. If I saw the G and the O, I'd be like, why is there just a body laying there afterwards? I would have never picked up on that. It's like, oh, go back. Oh, okay.
Got it.
So Merle goes to have a chat with Gargiulio / Neil about him like pissing himself and like don't show that you're afraid. Don't do that. And as he's doing that, Michonne pops out of the woods, straight up murders Tim and Crowley. And there's a little fight that goes on where Merle shoots her in the leg and she disappears like a ninja.
Yes.
I can't remember. Was it Tim or Crowley that she cut off his head?
Tim or Crowley?
Tim or Crowley.
I was one of the two of them.
One of the two, but that was such a clean. Oh yeah, it was both their heads. It was such a clean kind of hit that she gets.
Yeah.
She's like smooth.
I think every hit she does is
yeah,
good.
she's like you said, an artist.
Yeah, she's an artist.
Yes.
She's an artist with that blade.
Silent and deadly.
Yes.
What else is silent and deadly?
Why did I say that?
Yeah, I was like, Juan, you might want to move from over there. I'm just saying.
Stop.
I'll stay on.
I'm just saying.
Glad I'm seeing the
We'll
next to
stay
Derrial
over
tonight.
here.
Oh my God. Walking Dead over here. Jeez. Anyways.
Tough crowd.
Back to the show.
So I love Merle's interactions with Gargiulio that we get, because just the fact that he refuses to call him Gargiulio.
Neil,
He's like,
yeah,
I'm going to just keep calling you Neil. So that's a little bit more of his racism coming back, I think.
Exactly.
He's just like, Gargiulio, trying to pronounce it, not able to pronounce it. And he then tells him, like, hey, we never let our own turn. So he stabs one of them. Gargiulio ends up taking care of the other one. And they go hunting for Michonne. And as Gargiulio brings up, are we hunting her, or is Michonne hunting us?
Oh.
So it's like they're both doing the hunting, kind of hunting each other. And I really like this moment. I didn't know if I would be into the whole people versus people thing, but I do like the whole, when it's two people who know what they're doing, like Merle fighting Michonne. It's really cool to see them, like people who can think, fighting each other.
Agreed. And I think that's one of the main premises of the show, I think, that a lot of people mistakenly at first think that it's about the people fighting the zombies, but I think the real drama in the show is the people fighting the people, and how that unfolds, and how we really start going at each other when all those rules fly out the window.
Yeah.
Didn't you get the memo?
It's almost like a whole new breed of the human race is emerging because they're having to adapt to this kind of scary world where if you're not like that, you're pretty much dead meat.
That's true.
Well, it's like their new slogan. I think it was "Kill the dead, fear the living." It's something to that extent. Was their new slogan for season 3?
Yeah, I think so.
So it's exactly on point with that.
And I think the governor echoes that same sentiment that you just said to Andrea later on in the episode. And it says, congratulations, you made it. You're not one of them. You're not one of the dead. You're not one of the zombies. There's something about you that has made you a survivor.
Right. So after that moment, we get more of this action going on where Michonne pops out. Merle slices Neil/G-Julio out of the way to get at Michonne, which shows how much he cares about G-Julio. And then Michonne's kind of taking Neil out, or taking Merle out there until the zombies attack. So zombies all get over there. Gus gets spilled all over Michonne.
That was a nice scene.
Which is actually kind of a good thing for her, as we find out. Kind of a good thing. And Neil ends up saving Hershel. So Neil saves Hershel at the end of that scene.
Hershel?
What? Hershel.
Or not Hershel, I don't know.
Dixon, Merle.
Look, I take notes really fast. I just wrote the wrong name. Neil saves, Neil transported to the prison, saved Hershel. Okay, so Neil saves Merle at the end there. And,
Steven's in the booth laughing.
Steven, you know that's what really happened. They've got teleportation in Walking Dead now. So Neil ends up saving Merle, which maybe was not the right decision to make.
That was definitely the wrong move.
Because right afterwards, Merle's saying, like, hey, let's cut our losses, let's head out and just tell the governor that we killed Michonne. And G-Julio's not in for it. G-Julio at this point has switched being nervous and afraid. He's like, well, we have a mission. You told me how important this was. We need to kill Michonne. Hey, Juan, you see that bird over there?
Right.
You see that bird? Just straight up kills G-Julio.
G-boy.
Yeah, it kills G-Julio.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, that transition from pissing his pants to all of a sudden being a badass and not wanting to turn away. I thought that was a little bit weird for me and quick.
Yeah, it was a little stretch, and I guess his reasoning was because she had just killed his boys. He did mention that point, but still, he did go from like super scared to the wind being knocked out of him into like wanting to really get Michonne.
Yeah, kind of unrealistic.
Kind of unrealistic a little bit.
But if he didn't man up, then we wouldn't have gotten that.
True.
Interesting scene.
But the whole time he was talking, I was like, "Be quiet, dude! Don't you see where this is going?" I was like, "Look at the way Merle's looking at you. Be quiet. You're about to die hard right now."
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. I had my paper up in front of my face, like, "Oh, this is gonna be bad."
Yeah, this is gonna be bad.
G-Julio's new to the watch, though. He doesn't know this about Merle.
That's true.
I thought it was a little weird that he shot him though, knowing what he knows, and instead of just being so close between slicing distance.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, exactly. I thought it was just gonna be a straight up stab.
Yeah.
I thought that actually that surprised me more than G-Julio becoming more of a badass all of a sudden was Merle's lack of stabbing, I guess. I thought, I was like, Merle, really? You know better than that,
He likes to switch it up, you know?
And remind me, with the red zone that he's referring to, is that just where zombies converge whenever they hear a gunshot? Is that, or what exactly is the red zone? There were several references to the red zone.
Like she's headed for the red zone, something like that?
Yeah. And then
they were saying Michonne is headed for the red zone.
I'm not sure. Maybe the red zone is what they would consider the unsafe zone.
Okay.
Because maybe like it's like the green zone would be the safe zone, which is inside of Woodbury. Yellow zone is a little bit more safe. I'd imagine a red zone is probably just like out of safety, like out of range where they would be willing to go.
Now imagine if somebody comes across G-Julio's body and they're gonna see that he's not bit, he's not whatever Merle said,
shot,
right?
Yeah.
And if somebody knows the answer to the red zone, please call in and tell us right now, because we definitely like to.
I think I'm pretty spot on.
I think so. I'm just saying. You know,
I think I'm pretty spot on.
Get another answer with it. Just saying some options. Have a couple options, you know.
So
it's a buffet of feedback.
A buffet of feedback, yes, exactly.
Yeah, on the live chat, if you guys do have a response to it, definitely let us know or call in. So one of those if you have an idea. So after that, we get Michonne's zombie blood kind of paying off there. She's hobbling away, 4 zombies come, and I'm sure she'd still be fine with her samurai sword, but walk right past her. So reference to season 1.
Exactly.
And what you were doing there, G-Julio, you helped put zombie blood on people. You're very used to this.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you did.
You're an artist as well.
Indeed, indeed.
So you were the one who kind of called it out while we were watching it too. Like right when that happened, you were like, "Oh, it's gonna keep
Some
them away."
camouflage, yeah. Just because I remember that from the first season, that being a big issue when Glenn and Rick were walking through the horde.
Yeah.
Before
Oh,
it
yeah.
started raining.
I was actually rewatching that episode today in preparation for having you on, and so it's like fresh on my mind too. I was like, "It's camouflage." I was excited to see
So
it come back.
Is it so as long as it's not wet, it's gonna be
Well, it's more the
effective, or-
rain washed it off of them in season 1, so.
But
'Cause
it's the
'cause-
stench. It's the stench of the death, I guess.
Got it.
You know, and then also there was a reference to when they were trying to decide why does she have these 2 pet zombies. You know, I forget the other guy's name. The glasses, with the governor. His
Milton. Yeah.
He made a reference to it maybe being camouflage.
Right.
As well.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah, that's true.
the scent of the dead around him.
Yeah.
Right, so we definitely get a lot of references. It's nice to see it come back too, because I don't think we ever got that in season 2 come back. So I did like seeing it come back. So Michonne running away, she ends up running to Glenn and Maggie. So now we get the kind of interaction with the A group, and they're making that run for baby food and whatever else they can find. And just such a sweet couple. Oh, it's such a beautiful day
Kissing.
out. They're
It's a
having
beautiful
time.
day, they
Kissing.
said.
Yes, they did say that.
Yeah, they see
Trash
it.
on the
They see
ground.
some. It's you know what though in the zompocalypse, it's a nice.
That's the least of it.
It's a beautiful day because they're with each other
We need a name for them too.
See, Dave is sweet, guys.
Dave is sweet.
in small doses.
We'll call them Glaggy.
Yeah,
There you go.
Glenn and Maggie.
that's the
Glaggy.
most
Glaggy.
gross.
Glaggy.
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 That is a kind of gross nickname, but I'll go with
It's
it.
very appropriate for The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It's a sound you hear when Michonne is cutting you in half.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. I like it. And Glaggy end up seeing a duck. See, we're already going with it. Glaggy see a duck, and they're getting a duck for the newborn baby, being a sweet couple. And they get all the supplies. There's no zombie run-ins there. And as Michonne's watching from the distance, Merle ends up running into them now.
Yeah.
So Merle didn't go back. He's now, I guess he ended up going further on. I guess he had a change of heart, decided to keep chasing after Michonne. But he ends up running into them. And Merle, the first thing he asks and the first thing he wants to know is if Daryl is alive.
Yeah.
So he does care about Daryl. He really does care. And Glenn does not trust him at all.
As he should.
Right.
And-
I thought that was the most badass that Glenn has looked up to this point. The way he had his gun kind of aimed at him, you know,
Yeah.
it just looked like hardcore, steeled, and badass.
Glenn's come a
Other
long
than
way.
when he hooked up with Maggie that first
became a
time.
man.
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of
Yeah.
badass
Yeah.
for him.
That was pretty badass.
He's definitely come a long way. We've had many discussions about Glenn the last several.
Daryl wasn't a
episodes.
fan of
I was
Glenn
not.
before this season.
I wasn't.
Oh, how could you not be?
He's one of the few.
Yeah, how could you not love that
I
kid?
don't know. It was just
Kristen and
something about him
Kristen and I
that-
were hounding Derrial about it. Like, what are
I
you
know.
talking about? Everybody loves Glenn.
I just thought his
Yeah.
character was a little soft, and I just now he's manned up though. I have nothing bad to say about
well,
him.
now he has something to protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to,
And-
they don't have to go through the journey.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you see that transition there too? Now he has something to protect.
He lost his virginity, you know. So, no,
Nah.
kidding.
So, because right after this moment, we get
What is that? A delayed reaction to that?
Very
Like
delayed
5 minutes
reaction,
later, I'm like, what's going on?
I was in my own Walking Dead thoughts, and then I.
Virginity kicked in
There
there
we go.
somewhere.
there we go.
Hey guys, but I just want to say I don't believe Merle's sincerity in caring about where his brother is. I think he just wants to know where the rest of the squad is.
Really?
That's my opinion. I don't know.
I don't know. I really do think he cares about Daryl, but that's it. I don't think he cares about anybody else. But I mean, we do get that moment where Merle just flips, like starts shooting at them, takes Maggie hostage. So Glenn, to protect Maggie, he doesn't want to tell them where the group is at all. But Merle holds him there, and just kind of puts him at a point, like puts Maggie at gunpoint, and puts Glenn in the spot where he's like, "You get in the car. You have to drive, otherwise I'll shoot her." So Michonne witnesses it all, and Michonne, as they head back to Woodbury, Michonne goes and heads towards the prison, because as we find out, and this is a key, while Glenn and Maggie are outside, he kind of points out, "Oh, you can see the prison from up here." So that is why Michonne now knows where the prison is.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Please.
No, you won.
No, and at that moment, I assumed that she was going to go to the prison, and when they kind of framed the basket of supplies, I kind of, silly, in a throwaway thought that she was going to bring the supplies to the prison, but I didn't really think she would. I just thought it'd be pretty cool if she did.
That would be.
And it was pretty cool that she actually did.
You know, so I wasn't even thinking about that. So when I saw that, I was just like, oh, Michonne. But when you think about it, it's also a way to immediately make the group trust her.
True, yeah.
Because, like, why else would everyone doesn't trust anybody in this world, and that's a way to immediately earn their trust.
And Michonne specifically has been very distrustful of everyone, minus Andrea. So I think it'd be pretty big for her to even go to the prison with that.
Yeah.
I actually was really hoping that she would help out Glenn and Maggie and, like, take down Merle. I really wanted her to pop behind that vehicle and, like, slice him up.
Right.
But
I thought
maybe with her leg, she just couldn't.
Yeah, maybe. But she's also, like you were saying, she's also very observant, and she was probably just assessing the situation, and maybe she felt like she shouldn't get too involved yet to protect herself.
Right.
But I really want her to take out Merle.
She really is a woman of few words, but she from her actions what she's thinking or what she's
for
planning.
sure.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for her to come out too, but I guess in my head I knew it wasn't going to happen because you have to get the governor and the prison kind of coming together and clashing, and this is going to be how we have that happening, is these two ends meeting and butting. But let's go on to the C story. And before we talk about that, I do need to mention that we have after blogs now. So after you listen to our show, or if you just want to read instead of listening and maybe you're at work, don't have time to listen, you should listen anyways. You go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our after blogs, and we do have an after blog for Walking Dead. So definitely do make sure to check out our after blogs. And I kind of have to flip through some notes here.
I thought we were going to get some after blog music or something from Steven in the booth. Guess not.
Play some more Walking Dead theme song. That's perfect for the after blog. So let's go on and talk about Woodbury. And we've got Andrea at the start of it, not too happy with the governor because of the Friday night fights that he's holding there. And the governor wants Andrea to stay put, and he wants her input on it, everything. And she's telling him that she thinks the games are barbaric. And then they kind of talk about how Andrea wants to be on the wall. So kind of a brief scene there, and because we're short on time, I do want to run to the next scene where you have the girl there who's on the wall with Andrea, and the girl's telling Andrea that she used to hunt with her dad all the time, who was like an Olympic medalist with crossbows, and mentions that she had to kill her dad and her brother in order to survive, but she's supposedly really good with a crossbow. And at that moment, I was so happy for Andrea because I thought Andrea had met the girl she could relate to. This is a badass girl who shoots people, who also had to deal with killing her own family members until she can't shoot a crossbow. So Andrea handles it Andrea way, jumps off, stabs the guy in the head. What did you guys think about this little interaction there, and also what Andrea's decision was to end up to just go kill the walker?
I think I thought when she came up with a little bit of a smirk and a smile on her face as soon as she stabbed him, I thought there was a little bit of bloodlust there, and I think it was a little bit indicative, kind of like a precursor to what she then later confessed to the governor, actually liking the fight and liking the interaction and the hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
But it was kind of like a weird interaction, the way that she was talking about how much of a badass she was with the crossbow, and then couldn't.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe she's trying to toot her own horn to make herself seem like cool of this new girl in town.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know, but why would she be on the wall if she couldn't shoot a crossbow in the first place?
Yeah. That was kind of weird.
That was the point that I was thinking about. I was like, why is she up there if she's a bad shot?
The only excuse I could come up with is that these were particularly bad, staggering zombies that kind of just staggered right out of the way. So the moving
Super
target.
zombie.
And they did
Just
kind of
happened to
show
come
the
that
zombie
day.
kind of
She was actually doing perfect shots, but this was just a really good zombie. Like it
He
just was
was kinda
like
Yeah.
just as it comes
Yep.
They're Matrix zombies.
Yeah.
The Matrix zombies.
wobbled its head. In slow motion too. It was definitely in slow motion.
The thing is, like, it would hit the zombie, but it would just, like, where did it go? Like, bounce off or just, like, hit the wrong place? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, it was kind of going everywhere.
Yeah, that was weird though when it like kind of hit the zombie and just fell off. I was like, I thought that was a good shot. I guess not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, at least she's doing a good job keeping the bow safe for when Daryl gets there.
Exactly.
True.
Very true.
So All Hail Caesar G on the chat kind of said that he was disappointed with Andrea this episode. And he says because he was hoping she would be the voice of reason, but she eventually succumbed to the fights and the governor, which we see in the very next scene where she comes in to talk to the governor, and the governor doesn't want her on the wall anymore. And she kind of confides in the governor that, as you were saying, Juan, that she likes the fights. And it was more she didn't want to like it, but she does like fighting and killing them. And, I mean, I could see that, though. It's kind of a release in the sense, and it's kind of that primordial nature of fight or flight, and she's definitely has that fight instinct in her. And it's like a survival thing.
It's a survival thing, yeah. And the governor didn't want her on the wall because he wanted her in the bedroom.
Good transition. Next scene.
Yes.
What should we talk about now?
As the governor is hitting on her, and they are then in the private British-style garden of the governor.
Yes.
It's very nice. They're having some nice alcohol there.
Some whiskey.
Andrea's asking very Midwestern style with the whiskey.
Talking about waxing the car.
Waxing the car. And then the governor. But then we have the governor saying that he wasn't proud of his car, but there's something that he is proud of. Won't tell Andrea what it is. Presumably it's his daughter.
Penny.
But he won't tell Andrea what it is, so he's still not opening up fully to Andrea. And then they have that. So how long has it been since you? I mean, since you had alcohol, since you had whiskey moment there. So a lot of flirting going on, and she says
the governor is remarkably charming and smooth cat in the show. I remember from reading the comic book that there's no way in heck that they could get this guy to be in any way sympathetic, but I'm really surprised at how sympathetic he's coming across. I mean, it's still, you can tell he's a creep and he's really slimy, but he's really being good at that.
Yeah, it's totally different than the comics. Totally different character.
Completely.
And I like Andrea's look at that moment when she goes, "Long time." So she gives him that look.
I hated that moment. It's so ugly.
You didn't like that?
Long time.
A long time.
I mean, they've got a lot of pent-up energy.
So very flirtatious there. She has the private audience with the governor, and he tells her flirtatiously, "Don't call me the governor, call me Philip." So even more flirtations going on as they start to make out. And well, also before that, he tells her that he loves the fight too. I should mention that he likes watching the fights, and says she shouldn't feel bad for liking fighting. And then they make out.
Sex? Yes, please.
Yes, please. But they're not just having sex. Or not having sex. They're not just making out, they're having sex.
I was like, wait a minute.
They're not just having sex, guys. Oh, they're doing a lot more than just sex.
Where's this conversation going all of a sudden?
Well, that was a backwards transition. So they're not just making out, they're having sex. And as he is laying in bed, there's a knock on the door, and what do you know? Merle's back.
Go figure.
For some sex.
For some threesome action.
Yeah, he wanted a piece of that also, so he's a little...
Merle should never be on a sex scene.
He has constantly hit on her.
You know what, though?
Season 1 he hit on her, season 3 he's on her, so...
You know what, though? I was looking at, I forgot the name of the actor who plays Merle.
Yeah.
Michael Rooker.
Okay, never mind. It's his brother. Apparently his brother has a lot of lady fans out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's the meme that's saying, boom, with one look from Daryl, boom, pregnant.
Yeah.
Show us what it looks like in the camera.
Oh, I can't do it justice.
That was good. I don't know. That was pretty good.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh my God. I gotta have to look away.
I think I'm a guy, and I think I just got pregnant.
Do I need to go get a plan B or something?
You're like the zombie with the pregnant belly.
Exactly. Exactly.
I just hope that that Andrea and the governor are practicing safe sex. There has to be, I hope, plenty of condoms on. I'm sure there's plenty of condoms.
I know, but you'd run out.
Yeah, when you run out.
I mean, it's been 7 months.
Yeah, and she's clearly not on birth control.
So clearly.
You don't know.
Well, for
But
how
then
often
again-
she PMSs is what he's
But
saying.
then again, why? They need to repopulate the world.
True.
Okay.
True. All right.
All right, so
Sarah.
Merle then lies to the governor and tells him Tim Crowley and the other one died. He still doesn't know what the hell G-Julio's name is, so the other one died, and tells him that they killed Michonne. And he lies to him about that, kind of plays it off. I didn't think he did too good of a job playing off why Michonne got, why he
Where's
didn't
her
have
head?
Michonne's head or sword. He kind of just, I thought he kind of fumbled the ball on that one.
He seemed shady.
But he tries to quickly ring it to, hey, but we got some other ones from, he tells them they got Glenn and Maggie, some other ones from Andrea's group, and it looks like they are loaded. So it looks like he's ready to go off, and this is where the interaction is going to start with them. And as the governor comes back, Andrea asks, is everything okay? Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Wait, no, you have to say disrobe and then say hell yeah. He took the robe off. I was like, oh God, please don't show the butt crack. Don't show the butt crack of the governor. I don't want to see it.
Meanwhile, the ladies were like, please show the butt crack.
Yes, lower.
Not I, but others.
And then Andrea popped out and was like, oh, please.
Yeah.
So Andrea.
Like that? Was she like, oh, please?
Exactly
very
like that. Exactly like that. All right, guys, so let's move on then to, as you've heard and noticed, we have a special guest with us.
Yeah.
Juan over here, who played Morales in season 1. So we do want to talk a little bit with you about Walking Dead and what it was like to be on Walking Dead, and also what you're doing right now. And I kind of want to start and ask, is there any chance, do you know, or can you say, of Morales maybe coming back at some point? Because we really don't know what his status is at this point.
I honestly can't say with any absolute certainty, but I believe very firmly that it's a distinct possibility.
Okay.
I believe somewhere out there in the wilderness, Morales lives.
Okay.
Hashtag Morales lives.
Yes.
This is such a politician's answer.
No, right? Very diplomatic.
Right,
But I actually did, well, no, I can't say too much. But I think it's a distinct possibility.
All right,
I think it's a distinct
cool.
possibility that's been tossed around and being contemplated
Yeah.
by important people somewhere.
Whoa.
Oh,
that is a new
I like
sound
that
effect.
one.
That was kind of cool.
But his family. I was hoping for a sound effect there, Steven. You dropped the ball.
Donut.
Okay.
So that's great. That's great
I
news.
definitely think so. I'll say a little prayer every night for that
We all will.
possibility. You know?
Yeah.
Waiting for the call, right?
Yes, waiting for the call. You know, hopefully we can get a little bit of buzz out there and
Yeah.
hear the rising clamor for Morales to come back.
Yeah, if everybody says hashtag bring Morales back,
Or
Maybe.
hashtag
Then-
Morales
There you go.
lives.
or
Boom.
hashtag Morales lives. Yes, hashtag Morales lives. That will get it started.
Maybe.
Yes.
So you've also
And if anything, it's another loose end out there that needs, in my opinion, some sort of
Right.
resolution.
I agree.
We don't know what it'll be, but maybe we'll see.
Along with that father and son, too.
Morgan Jones.
Morgan Jones.
yeah,
Yeah.
Morgan
First
Jones
season.
definitely.
What happened to them? Maybe you guys will come back together.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, to see like somehow they ended up pairing up. So maybe
Anything's possible.
anything is possible.
Yes.
So what was it like though when you were on set? Because I imagine a lot of the stuff is CG, and then as you were saying, a lot of it isn't. It's very gruesome. But can you take us through like what is a day on the set of Walking Dead like?
Remarkably, most of it, in my opinion, was practical. I mean, I guess I really don't know as much as other people, much more important than I. But a lot of it was really practical, and most of what we saw was just really gnarly, amazing, mind-blowing special effects magic from Greg Nicotero and his crew.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff was just really gnarly in your face. The only thing that I'm aware of being CGI is just I think a lot of the blood splatter sometimes and things like that. Even though a lot of that was also practical.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really cool. Totally geeking out on the experience. I mean, it was by far the coolest project I had worked on.
Nerd alert!
I had worked with Frank Darabont before several years ago back in Shreveport when we did The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist.
Yeah.
And it was just a real pleasure. Andrew Lincoln was spectacular and was just very generous with his time, with his energy, and really set a tone of camaraderie and support and openness and friendliness between everybody on there. I can't say enough good, positive things about everybody on the show. Super, super, super cool people.
Yeah.
And not just great actors and talented actors, but just amazing human beings, you know. So I can't gush enough about how awesome everybody is on the show, from the top down.
And do the actors take on a lot of their characters? Like when you're not filming, are people walking around the same way that their characters like on set? Or is there like a distinct transition?
I think so. I got it. I mean, things may have changed. You know, the dynamic may have changed, but there was really a strong sense of camaraderie during season 1.
That's cool.
Which was kind of translated as soon as we cut, and then we just kind of hung around and chatted and joked and BS'd a lot, and it was just a really fun time in general. You know, and Andy would also just continue to be very generous with his time, but he had a lot on his plate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes he would just really be focused on what was coming up next just because there was so much on his plate, but also just couldn't be any more generous.
So as far as, I guess, actors being like their characters, as Derrial was kind of bringing up, I've seen interviews with Daryl, or the actor who plays Daryl, and he very much, in interviews, is still kind of acts like that. So, like, how similar are some of the actors, like, really similar? Like, is Daryl really that similar, or is that kind of an act when he's doing interviews, too?
I'm not sure. He definitely has this really cool edge about him, but he's really sweet and friendly. So the elements that you're seeing from Daryl are there as well. The nicer, sweeter, but he's definitely got a really kind of cool, edgy dynamic to him, you know.
Yeah.
'Cause he's a badass.
I love it.
He's a badass on camera and off camera. He's a badass.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I've noticed that you also have the same name for The Mist and for The Walking Dead, Morales.
Go figure.
So why no first name? Like, why is it just that you only use the last name on both of those characters?
Or is that your first name?
Or it's supposed to be your last name.
I
though,
think
right?
it's a last name, and I think in the military you refer to people by their last name in general, without necessarily ever getting to their first name. And I don't know. I wish I could answer that question a little bit more, I guess, confidently, but I really don't know. Maybe just Frank really likes the name Morales.
Morales.
It's a good name.
It's a great name.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
I'm really interested in hearing about the fight scenes because Walking Dead has some pretty awesome and gruesome fight scenes. How much choreography goes into that? Because I know like you like killed some zombies with a bat and all that, right?
A lot of the actual fight scenes between people are kind of pretty choreographed. But even loosely so, there's still a little bit of room because there's just a lot of cameras going on at the same time and capturing it all. But that on the episode when everybody had the camp invasion of the zombies, that was not choreographed, and that was kind of a weird.
Really?
Yeah, I mean.
So how did that?
It was bizarre. We were doing a rehearsal before anybody knew that there were any zombies. And it really caught me by surprise, and I don't know if everybody else also anticipated it or not, but all of a sudden we kind of action on the rehearsal, and then zombies were coming out of everywhere, and I was like, holy crap. I mean, I literally got a real
reaction.
rush, a real adrenaline rush, and I was like, everywhere I turned, there was a zombie coming out of a bush, there was a zombie coming out of the bush, and I was just swinging for, what's the expression? Swinging for the...
String for the trees?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it sounds right.
For the fences. For the fences.
That's what it is.
And actually, they actually got several cuts of me just going to town with a baseball bat. But I was just like, turning everywhere and swinging and swinging and swinging. And
wait, were you not worried about like killing an actor who's playing a Walker?
It's rubber, right?
It was rubber bat.
Oh, okay.
It was a rubber bat, and there was definitely some distance. And I'm conscious of that fact. I mean, you never totally lose yourself in the moment because you know that you're a professional.
Method acting.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
You're always
really into it.
I would not want to play a Walker on that day on set.
No,
that sounds awesome. I don't think I've ever heard. That's like really getting a real surprise out of you guys. I don't think I've ever heard of something like that before.
Yeah, it really took me by surprise.
So did they shoot that run, or no?
I imagine so. I mean, that we did it several times, but that first time that I thought was just a rehearsal, I imagine they had to. I don't know if they were just having fun with us or if they just did it to get some really solid reactions. But it was really, and then once that rehearsal happened, we just repeated that. So there was no plan. We just kind of moved about and kind of went to town. And then once that was laid out, we just repeated that same action for the several other takes.
Sounds like a really cool like Walking Dead hazing.
I know, right?
That I wouldn't mind being a part of.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that specific scene again.
Yeah, me too.
So Marissa wants to know from the chat, what are you working on right now currently? And I know you just got back from Hawaii for Hawaii 5-0.
Yes, I did.
And
I actually lived there
Sarah's
before,
got the
that's why.
connection there.
Yes,
yeah,
she does.
Love it.
It was amazing, amazing, amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. Had a really fun episode that will be airing around Christmas time of this year. And
you're playing Morales in that one too.
I was going to say that.
I'm playing Moku Bradford.
Moku
Bradford.
Did you have to do the pigeon accent?
I think they kind of wanted me to. It was really like last minute, and I gave it a shot, but I'm not
That
sure.
sounded pretty good though when you said moku.
Moku, right?
Moku.
Brother, 30,
Brother
40 foot
moku.
waves. But I'm not sure. I mean, they had me do it kind of both ways, so I'm not sure which they'll end up using or not.
Yeah.
And then also right before that, I just finished up a few weeks ago CSI New York, a guest starring episode on that. So that was
Nice.
also kind of geeking out working with Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
That was really neat. And a good buddy of mine from NYU back in the day, Eddie Cahill's also been on that show for ever.
Oh, cool.
So that was good to see
It's like
him
a family
as well.
reunion.
Yeah. And then a little bit before that, I was happy to do another little co-starring role on a new ABC sitcom that hasn't started airing yet called The Family Tools.
Yes.
And I think that's scheduled maybe for January, early 2013. So keep an eye out, folks.
Nice. What's the
You've been
premise
busy
of that?
lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird, man. I'm feeling very blessed, very happy, very fortunate. And it's just, I got together with the new manager, John Sabansky, who's been rocking my world. And then
Shout out to John.
woo woo. And then he connected me with some wonderful folks over at GVA, and it just really
Which
feels
is how you got Hawaii 5-0, right?
right through
Awesome.
John and then also GVA. And then having a lot of great film auditions coming up that I got my fingers crossed on.
Great.
And it just feels like I'm playing at a different level all of a sudden. So things have just really taken off in the last few months.
Do you like more of the dramatic or the comic roles?
People ask me that a lot. I really can't say one way or another. I enjoy working. I enjoy working. I enjoy both of them. And then I really do feel like I have a natural versatility and range to be able to handle both of those quite well. So,
All right,
whatever.
great. Well, thanks so much for all that. And let's get on to the comments then from iTunes and YouTube from last week. I do want to thank Hallie Porter, Edge323 on iTunes. And Edge323 real quick asked, was Merle in the comics? He was not in the comics. Neither was Daryl, which he pointed out. But neither Daryl
was
nor
Morales.
And neither was Morales. So
right.
good thing. They're making some rules.
Yes.
So on YouTube, NX1323, Jalad Wino, Aeon Long, Biggie Sniper, Beating Hearts Baby 21, Fiorentina 5, Mei-Chai Fence 7 Able, The Blue Jellyfish, Jack Embry, Jackhammer 23, there's a lot of them today, Schmid Terran, Raptos, Smitty Blue 21, Skiamani 2008, Maddie Medina, Jehan Daboni. Thank you guys so much for commenting. And guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of Walking Dead with us. So once again, guys, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @DaveKlein, that's Klein, or on my website, djk-online.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Daryl Christon. You can find me under my name, DerrialChriston.
You can find me at Sarah with an H Mendoza. That's my name. Shout out to Sapphire, my good friend here who's in studio.
And where can we find you,
You
Juan?
can find me on Twitter at Juan G. Pareja, and then also just go to my website, JuanGabrielPareja.com.
Make sure you follow this guy.
And let me point out that next week, Oscar will be with us as well. So we have another special guest next week, so tune in.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, guys. I need a lot more followers. That's really sad.
Follow me now.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff. We would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.